But in terms of props, just a block for this evening. I'm going to start seated. And going to use the block pretty much from the get-go. So rolling down gently, looking after the spine. We'll take the arms out so their hands are in line with the chest, which, as I like to detail, is lower than your shoulders and way lower than your head. Palms facing up. And I have a little wriggle through the hips just to lengthen the spine out. And then I'm going to draw the knees in and just make some little circles with the knees. So not holding on to the knees, but just rolling little circles. So I have to actually use some abdominal muscle to draw the legs in a little closer and rolling round. So there's a tiny little bit of a lift in the pelvis going on. And then I'm going to go the opposite way. Pin the knees lightly together. Trying to get that abdominal crunch without drawing the shoulders in too much. And then we'll come around to the last time and use the feet back down to the floor, close to the bottom on the center line. I'm going to take the legs over towards the left, just letting them sit down gently. We'll let them rest on the floor, shoulders flat to the ground, turning the head the opposite way slightly. Ease the knees back up. Realign if you need to, and roll the legs to the opposite side. The legs back up. So I'm going to take hold of the block and just have that between the hands. You can choose whether you want that portrait or landscape. It doesn't matter too much. You'll be dropping the hands behind the head. So if you find it a little bit strong in the shoulders, you might want to take the block to the opposite way around it. We'll lengthen the legs out as well. Lengthening out through the toes, just squeezing the thighs in a little bit. And on the exhale, you know, those hands roll gently down towards the floor behind the head or over the top of the head, whichever way you want to think of that. And see if we can get the block to touch the ground without the ribs lifting too much towards the sky. As I bring the block back over my chest, I'm going to flex the toes towards me and press out through the heels. And then as I begin to hit the breath the opposite way, I'll point the toes away again. Let the arms come down. Take the breath in. And exhale. Flexing and bringing those arms back over. Breath in at the top. Bring your toes. Draw the belly in. Use the shoulders down so you get the minimum of rib lift. You can almost draw your ribs towards the pelvis. We'll take the breath in. And ease back over. We're going to take 2 more of these. We'll begin the last one. Just slide the heels in and just take that block underneath the back of the head with the knees in over the top of the feet, so just walking them in nice and close. We'll come into a figure four. So I'm going to stretch the left leg to the sky first of all, and the toes to the outside as I breathe in, and then bend the knee, pivoting across the side, keeping the foot flexed, just letting that left knee drift forward a little bit to come up onto the tiptoes. Take the next breath in, and on the exhale, I use the muscles in that left leg, sorry, right leg, to draw both legs in. We'll take the left hand through the center and right hand around the outside. Lying flat to the floor. Press the tailbone away as you draw the knees in. So details are small, but they're there for a reason. We kind of move in different directions at the same time. Release. Gently, we'll stretch that leg out. Give it a shake. Bring the foot down. We'll take the opposite leg high. On the exhale, turn the toes out as you breathe in. Folding over. On the tiptoes when you're ready. And exhale, using the strength of that left leg. Right hand through the center. Taking the hands either around the shin or the back of the thigh. Wherever you go to, you want to make sure you lay your spine back to the floor. And press the tailbone away as you draw the knees in. And release them there as well. Yeah, and we'll take a little stretch out, and then we'll bring both knees in towards the body, wrapping the arms around the shin. So quite the skin and nice and tight. And then we'll roll slowly over to the right side. We'll come back up to sitting and spin the feet round to the back of the mat. So we're onto all fours. Now, slowly going to take the knees out wide. Get back onto the heels, keeping the body upright, just taking cat's paws. So we're going to stretch those wrists out a little bit. So cat's paws, when you imagine that your cat sits on your lap and then paws away at you, they sort of lift one paw a little bit away from the floor and dig their nails into your leg because they love you. Well, we're kind of doing the same to the mat, just rocking gently, lifting the heel of the hand away, but leaving the knuckle joints against the ground if you can. So you're stretching into the tendons and the muscles of that palm of the hand. And to turn the fingers out to the side, continue to rock a little bit from side to side, albeit slightly more gently. And then coming back into stillness, I can turn the fingers towards me, thumbs out. Taking the hands as far forward as you comfortably can, so the fingers point to you, and the heel of the hand is able to stay on the floor. You can roll the shoulders back a little bit, so you get a nice deep stretch into those forearms. And then I'm going to press into the shins, lifting myself up so I can take the weight out of the wrists themselves, to flop them over the opposite way. One hand at a time. Palm to the sky, just drawing the shoulder and elbow back so you increase the stretch through the wrist. When that feels like it's come back to life, opposite side. And then both hands to the floor. Bring the knees back in about hip distance apart as I tuck the toes underneath and sit back onto the heels, sitting upright. You can take the arms out nice and wide on the breath in, and then just bring that left arm across, right arm over the top. I'm going to try and keep the elbows as high as the shoulders, but let the shoulders relax down a little bit. The eagle arms out in front. Now, float the arms out wide. And we'll bring the right arm, left arm over. I'm just reversing that up. It feels vaguely familiar. There's a good chance to do the arm same way twice, but just untangle. And leaving the elbows directly in front of the shoulders with that little bit lift. Just give that a little extra stretch in between the shoulder blades. And then we can release the fingers down to the floor. We'll untuck the toes as well, and we'll take cat-cow. Whilst we're doing that, we can stretch the feet out the opposite way a little bit. Rolling through the spine. Seeing how that feels. We'll come back into neutral. I'll take the fingers into the front of the mat, tote the toes underneath, lifting slowly into down dog. Just moving my block out the way a little bit with my touches. Turning the armpits in a little bit. I find the easiest way to do that is to turn the fingers out to the side just a fraction. And then that gives you that nice breadth across the back of the shoulders. Coming knuckles around. Let the heels in towards the back of the mat. So you want them to be off of the floor a little bit. And then we'll ease our way into a plank. Take a little breath. Lift the hips back up again. Walking the fingers now in towards the hands. Coming in towards the back of the mat. Into a forward bend. Softness in the knees. We'll take a couple of breaths here, keeping the fingers attached. And then we'll lift the hands gently onto the chin, come up halfway. Roll the shoulders back, hinge at the hips again, coming down. So trying to just draw ourselves a little closer. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Onto the shins, final time. And bringing ourselves back. We'll walk the fingers into the front of the mat for down dog. And the down dog, we're going to take the feet as wide as the mat. And just walk the hands in far enough back with straight legs to get the heels flat to the floor. We're taking the twist. We'll take the left hand underneath and out towards the outside of that right ankle, turning the body under. Try not to sway out too much to the side. Pressing down through the feet on the arms and lifting the hips up and back. I'll bring that left hand to the ground and we can get over to the other side. Try and release the back of your neck if you can. Might be a little bit tight around the shoulders when you're holding yourself with one hand. And then we'll bring ourselves back into regular old down dog. Now from there, we're going to see if we can come into Dalton. So we're lowering the elbows to the ground. You can either do that both elbows at the same time, or you can take the one elbow at a time approach. I like to interlace the fingers together, draw the elbows in towards the center line a little bit, rather than letting them slide out to the side, and then walk the feet in a little bit more. Try to press the shoulders back at the same time. One more breath. And then walking the feet back out. Letting yourself lift back into your down dog. In your choice, if you can lift both elbows at the same time. I'm afraid that's not in my body this evening. We'll walk the fingers into the toes again. And this time we'll let the hands come onto the hips. Shoulders and elbows back, and we'll lift slightly soft knees. Bring the hands in towards the heart on the breath in. Exhale back down to the floor. Holding in deep. Hands onto the hips. Shoulders and elbows back. On spine as we lengthen out. Hands into the heart. Exhaling down again. Hands under the hips for a final time. Shoulders and elbows back. We lengthen. Let ourselves lift. And we're going to walk into about the middle of your mat, taking your legs out lightly. So find a focus point. Going to turn just a little bit to the side. We're going to load the weight into the left leg. And just gently bring the right knee up. Now you want to try and bring the knee, as high as you can before you take your hands around the shin. And then take a couple of breaths, just getting used to that. And then I'm going to flex the toes towards the knee on the lifted leg, press down through the standing leg, use the arms a little bit to draw the bent knee as high as I can. And I'll let that foot come back down to the ground gently, hopefully with control, always the aim. And the feet together or close, and lean into the opposite leg, start to bend the knee, draw it up. So fine if I don't look at the knee, I just lift, use my peripheral vision, get the hands around. That disturbs me less. Pull the shoulders back, interflex the foot, drive the knee high, press down through the standing leg. About an equal amount of effort lifting and pushing down. And then we'll let that foot come down as well. Take those legs out, So we're going to do a second standing balance. We're just going to work on the quads a little bit more this time. We'll take a breath in, and we're going to load into the left leg. I'm just going to draw the right heel towards my bottom, take the hand back, find the ankle, then walk the fingers out to the toe. So at that point, the knee is out to the side. So I'm going to bring the knee back in to the sides of the close to get them parallel. Drive the tailbone down to the floor. Press the knee to the ground at the same time. We've got that left hand to add for a little bit of balance. You need it out to the sides. And then we can release. Take it out. We'll take it to the other side. When you're ready, we'll just slowly lift the heel in towards the bottom. Get the fingers back, the toes. And then kind of wrap the legs closer together. Heel into the butt. So at that point, the heel's actually touching the skin bones, or close as you can get. Drive the tailbone down. Another way of that saying is tilt the pelvis backwards a little bit. And then we'll let that foot release to the floor as well. Take those out. Need your feet about hip distance apart or parallel. We'll take the hands out in front. It's going to come into somewhere between a chair and a squat. We'll lift up onto the tiptoes to make it more fun. The heels away from the ground. We're slowly going to come down. You're going to try and leave your back as upright as you can. Imagine there's a wall you can lean into, but don't get too carried away with that and fall over. We're going to see if we can bring the hips down so the hip bones align to the knees. The thighs are parallel to the ground. And we'll drive the legs back up slowly. And let the heels come down. Just rest the arms. Roll the shoulders around once, one direction, once the opposite direction. Then hands out again in front. Best things come in threes. We're up on the heel, tiptoes again, heels away from the ground, coming down. You come down nice and slow. Try to keep the knees pointing the same direction as your toes. And then we'll come back up. And let the heels down. Take it out. One more to play with. Hands come out. A little lift. Find your focus point, start to sink. Remember to breathe in and out. Sun generates quite a bit of heat in the body. And we'll drive our way back up. Let the heels come down. Take it out. Roll the shoulders around again. And then I'm going to move into the front of the mat. Just squatting down gently, fingertips on the floor, and then behind, so the bums can come to the ground. We'll take a little breath. Roll the spine down to the floor. Make sure that block is not under your head, so you want to take that out of the way. Walk the fingers in, get a nice long spine. Knees then come over the top of the hips. And I extend the toes to the sky pointing. Squeeze the thighs lightly together. Hands come up above the chest. Draw in the tummy muscles and the lower back into the floor, keeping the spine as flat as we can. And then when you're ready, you're going to alternate legs and arms. So we'll exhale. Right arm and left leg down and away. Not quite bouncing into the floor. Try and keep the standing leg to the sky pointing. And over the hips, we come back. Try not to sway the leg forcibly, because what that does is it rolls your pelvis around underneath you. So you want to try and keep the pelvis flat and as stable as you can, rather than influencing its movement from the limbs, rocking around. Strong legs pointing out, coming back. But we try not to accelerate. We keep it slow and under control. We'll take one more of those to each side. We'll let the feet come gently to the floor. Arms come down by the side. And then you're going to take the hands, palm down, close as you can get your arms to the side of your body. You want to have your hands or your wrists underneath your buttocks. But you also want the back of your pelvis just touching the floor. So you don't want to be sitting completely on top of your hands. The hands and the wrists are just a little out to the side, so you can still be touching the ground. Takes a little time to each of the position that you want to be in. And then we're going to press the shoulders down, the chest down, the ribs down, and the lower back into the floor. So we get that very long, strong, flat back. We'll draw the knees up over the hips again and extend the legs out to the sky. And this time we're just going to take the right leg down. And we'll come back up. And we'll cross over to the opposite side. And when you're ready, the floor always feels like it's a lot further away than you remember it being. Again, we try and keep the speed very slow and regular, so we avoid articulating through the pelvis, we keep it nice and stable. Under the core muscles, we're trying to integrate the legs, front and arms working together. Let's take a couple more. Coming up to the final time, bend the knees, feet down to the ground. You want to bring the feet in as close as you can, but at about hip distance apart. Squeeze the knees together a little bit. Let the hands come out from underneath your bums. You can take your hands just lightly interlaced underneath the back of your skull with your elbows out wide, ready for half boat. We'll take a little breath. On the exhale, we'll let the chin come in towards the chest. It's a fairly free movement. Take another breath without pulling on the neck. We're going to lift the chest in towards the thighs. The core muscles that did the lifting. Hands come past the hands, stretching out. We'll lengthen the legs out. Take a breath. Coming down. We'll lift the legs back up again. Hands come around the back of the head. We'll spine down. We'll bend the knees. And feet come to the floor. Lifting the elbows out nice and wide. Big long spine, let everything go. Then we start to gather up again. Take a breath in. Let the chin come in towards the chest. Long spine presses down. We'll lift the chest. The exhale. Extend the hands out. Let the legs lengthen out, following the line of the thighs, and we come down. Lift the legs back up. Behind the head. Roll it back down. Bend the knees. And this time we'll let the knees come in towards the body as we wrap the hands and arms around the shins or anything for a little ball. And we'll roll gently over to the right side. Hands into the floor. Lifting back up. We'll spin around. We'll take the feet to the back of the mat and up onto all fours. We're going to slowly sit back onto the heels. And we'll try and take the hands behind and lift the knees away from the floor. So if that's too intense for the feet, just obviously sitting on the heels in any way that you can. Try and lift the chest up a little bit if we can get into this pose. Rest your shoulders back. And the belly in. You're getting a little lift and extension through the spine. And then we'll ease the knees down to the floor. Coming back up. Right, onto all fours. Take a little breath. Let ourselves move into down dog. And then we're going to take the slow walk towards the front of the mat to the toes. We're just walking in gently. Till we get to the point where we're a little bit stuck. We're going to step on the fingertips. You have to bring the fingers and the toes to the front of the mat. A bit closer to the wall, that's all. Hands on the hips and let ourselves lift up. We'll take the arms high on the inhale, breath in. Bring the hands through the heart and exhale, using at the hips down to the floor. And take a little breath and extend the left foot back into a lunge and drop the heel in. And cartwheel gently into warrior two. We'll take the hands high again and out towards the front of the mat. Down to the floor. We're going to lift the back heel and then take the right hand into a twist. We'll bring that hand back to the floor and take the left hand to the twist. Movement from closed to open. Coming back, we'll step back into a down dog. Travel forwards on the next breath into plank, half plank and up dog. Roll it back into a down dog. And we'll scissor the left leg high. Into chest and foot through the center. Back into lunge. And then use your exhale to pop into a forward bend. Hands under the hips will lift up on the inhale. Drooping the arms to the sky to fill your lungs. Hands through the heart and exhale down. Extending the right leg back this time into the lunge. Dropping the heel in, we're open to warrior two. Float the arms high, out to the front of the mat. Lift the back heel, press out through that leg as you twist. Left-handed up, coming back, right arm into the twist. Back down, stepping back into dog. Inhale it to plank, half plank and up dog. Rolling it back. And the scissor in right leg high. Knee to chest and through. For a lunge. Push off the back toes. Hands to the hips. Inhale all the way up. And through the heart. And exhaling down. We're bending the left leg back to lift into warrior two, cartwheeling. With the arms high, out towards the front of the mat and down to the floor. We're going to lift the back heel, drop the back knee. Untuck the toes, taking the right hand forwards. We come into a twist. We'll lift the back heel towards the hands. See if we can grab. Draw that in towards the sitting bones. Take a breath in. Release the foot to the floor, swooping the arm over. Stepping back into down dog. Inhale on the way through, plank. Half plank and up dog. Rolling it back. Scissor in the left leg high. Into chest and through. Take a breath. Step it forward. Hands to the hips. Lift. Breathe in deep. Second side, exhaling down. Right leg back. Dropping the heel in. We'll lift into that warrior two. Move the hands high and out to the front of the mat. Lift the heel. Drop the knee. Untuck the toes. Left arm comes up and around. Foot comes in. One long breath. Release everything back to the floor. Stepping back into dog. Inhale to plank. Half plank. Up dog. Coming back into our down dog. Scissor in the right leg high. Knee to chest and through. And stepping forward. Exhale. Hands under the hips, coming up last time. Or last set. Not last time, exhaling down. Bending the left leg back. We drop the heel in, open to warrior two. Float the arms up and high and out. Exhaling down. And stepping back into dog. Coming into plank. We're going to take side plank over to the left. Coming back into down dog. We'll take the left leg high. Bend the knee, heel into the butt. We're going to flip over towards the right side. Take a breath. Come back into the dog. Float forwards into plank. Half plank and up dog. Down dog to scissor left leg. Knee into chest through. And stepping forwards. Hands under the hips. Lift it up. Last time. Hand through the heart. Exhaling down. Right leg back. Drop the heel in. Warrior two for the left. Extend it out to the front of the mat and down. And stepping back to dog. Plank. Side plank, we're over to the right. Coming back. Dog. Taking the right leg high, scissor. Bend the knee, flip it over to the left. Coming back again. Inhale to plank. Half plank and up dog. Lying or down dog. Scissor the right leg high. Knee to chest and through. And stepping in to the front of the mat. Hands under the hips, so lift up. Inhale high. Hands to the heart. And a breath moment in mountain pose. So hopefully we got the blood flowing, got the breath moving a little bit, heat into the body. So relax out a little bit and move towards the middle of the mat. We're going to need the block for this because we're going to take a squat first of all. So just squaring that up, bringing the heels onto the block, toes pointing out to the side a little bit. And then we're going to soften the knees, slide down, and see where we can hold. Now you can take the traditional version where you bring the hands into the heart and open the groins out a little bit and draw thighs back and elbows into the thighs. But if you just need a rest, you can just stick your arms on top of your knees and take it a little bit more relaxing. If you do take this version, you do want to be drawing the tummy muscles in. That pelvic bowl, you want to squeeze it in as much as you can. And then we'll have a little play with our crow pose. So we'll take the hands forward, take a little time, have the hands fraction wider than the shoulders, fingers fraction pointing out to the side. Make sure they're very flat. And we're going to take the knees as high up to the armpits as we can and squeeze the knees in and press the shoulders out to get a firm grip. And you can already hopefully start to feel those abdominal muscles helping with the squeeze. Now we're going to lift the hips up, take the shoulders over the wrists as we move forward a little bit, and see if we can take one foot at a time away from the floor. And you found your balance point. Oops. And see if you can keep your toes away from the ground. I've got the wrong trousers on this evening. They're sliding around all over the place. Last breath in. Toes back down to the ground. Whew, and sit back onto the heels. Take it out a little bit. And then we can have another little practice. So we'll take ourselves in. Nice sort of rock into it a little bit. Make sure you're happy with your positioning. This is the time to practice. And squeeze. And then lift. Rock it forwards, up on the tiptoes. And then ease the feet away from the floor. Squeezing the heels into the butt a little bit. Then eventually toes to the floor. Come back down. Whew. Hands behind. We'll take the legs out in front. And move gently towards the back of the mat with the block. Knees high. Roll gently down. Take the arms out wide. Feet them towards your bottom. We're going to take the reclining twist. We'll move the hips a little over towards the left to allow the legs to travel to the right. And you can take your right hand and just place it on top of the two legs to give even much more weight rolling down. You only do that if your shoulders are flat to the floor. You're already lifting and you don't need to add any more weight in. What we're trying to do is get a little bit more stretch into this outer hip area, IC band. Keeping the shoulders flat to the ground and letting go a little bit. Let's come back up. We'll move the hips about an equal distance to the opposite side. Rolling the legs down gently as you exhale. Same rules apply. If you find one side of your body is different to the other, work with what you have rather than on what you're trying to achieve. You can let go of that a little bit and listen to your body. Come back. Now I'm going to take the block out from behind the back of the head and just put that to the side of the mat so I know where it is, it's within reach. I'm going to come into bridge pose. I'm going to take the feet out a little more than hip distance apart, heels out, knees high, feet or the heels directly underneath the knees. Palms down, arms into the body. Take a breath, and I'm going to curl the tailbone away from the floor. And then I'll press into the legs to allow the hips to lift up. I'll come as high as I want to. I'm going to take my block into my hands and take that just above my chest. So very like we did at the beginning of the class. Now I'm going to exhale, and as I exhale, the hands over my head towards the floor behind me. I'm going to lift the heels off of the ground as well. We're going to wait until the block touches the floor, and I'm going to inhale the hands back up above my chest, keeping the heels lifted for the time being. And then once the block's in place, I'll let the heels come down. I'm going to see if I can lift the balls of my feet and my toes away from the floor, lifting the heels down, and then let the block go back down. I'll bring the block back up again. Over my chest. Let my feet come to the floor. They don't get a whole lot of lift. Let the heels up off the ground. Let the hands go back again. Inhaling up. Heels come to the floor. Lift the toes and the balls of the feet. The hands go back again. Press right down through those heels. Lift the hips as high as you can. Bring them back up again. Toes to the floor. Heels lift for the final time. Arms go back. I'm going to leave the arms outstretched behind. Leave the heels lifted, but roll the spine gently over a few breaths into the ground. I'm trying to control the descent. Relax the shoulders. Leave the hands in position. It's sort of like my own little monitor of where I'm leaving tension in the body. Easing the spine down until the tailbone is on the floor safe, and then let the heels drop. Going to take a little breath and move the block up to the sky, out to the side. I'm going to take it to my left, roll to my right, hands into the floor, lift back up. Just sitting, and I'm going to take the block now underneath the bottom, just sitting up nice and tall. And I'm going to take the left leg, scoot that underneath and out towards the right hip. I'm going to take the right foot over, bring that in close, knee high, tilt the pelvis forward, get the sitting bones settled. Going to take the left arm up and over towards the right side. So a little counter lever there. Take it to the opposite side. And just get that little tilt forwards in the pelvis. Back spine so you can just swivel around on that axis point. And come back. And the legs out. I'm going to bring the left heel into the groin, knee out to the sides, just swivel towards the front a little bit, hands onto the shins, hinge from the hip. Allow myself to float down and over that thigh. And use the hands to lift back up. Taking the other foot into the groin, little square up, little bend in the knee, hands on the shins, get space. Hold down. Hands to the floor to lift back up. And lengthen the legs out. Going to simply roll down to the floor, starting Shavasana. So I'm going to use the block behind the head. I've said it many times. I only do that so that it's easier for me to look to the clock. I actually prefer having my head flat on the floor in a very traditional position. But allow yourself to play with whatever feels good. If you're using a block or a cushion or a blanket underneath the head, just allow yourself to make sure it's not sitting underneath your shoulders or pressing into your neck. So you want to avoid anything that disturbs blood supply to your brain. And we'll walk the toes out slowly to the corner edges of the mat. Just slide the heels out that last little bit, one leg at a time. So I keep the body really connected to the floor. There's no sudden jolts for the nervous system. We give the toes a little bit of a wriggle as we let the feet roll out to the side. I'm going to play with one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. So the right hand is below belly button, left hand is above. I'll lick the lips a few times. And then just allow myself to breathe. So close my eyes gently. We'll begin to wriggle the fingers and toes. And then taking some longer breaths, allow yourself to roll the wrist and the ankle. Just bringing the nervous system and the body back together into the room and on this mat. When you're ready, you take a longer breath in and slowly begin to stretch out in any way that feels good to you. And then if you haven't already, we'll slide one heel along the ground at a time towards us to bring the legs back in. We'll let the knees gently move in towards the body, letting a light finger touch around the shins with the hand, rocking from side to side. And take a long breath in. Time and exhale to roll to your right side, letting the legs go down, then turn your chest in, bring the hands underneath, and push away from the ground smoothly as you finish your exhale. And then back up to sitting. We'll bring ourselves into an easy sitting posture, sitting up tall. Last little roll of the shoulders, hands into the heart as we close our eyes. We'll take that longer breath in. And begin a slow exhale, letting the head drop into the beginning the bow, we'll settle into that resting position, beginning our practice for the movement. Inhaling back up, letting the chin lift, the eyes open. Namaste. Thanks very much for joining me on the mat. Hope you enjoyed and see you again soon.